Welcome back, everyone. We are ready with some more Hearthstone action for you guys at home. We have Mexico versus Poland coming up, and it's going to be pretty cool. We've not seen anything from Mexico yet, so it's going to be nice to see those guys. And Poland probably being quite disappointed with their performance last week. It's going to be looking at getting a win on the table because they did, in fact, lose. So, yeah, they definitely need to win in the second match.
Yeah, that was one of the games that I missed while bedridden. Who were they playing at the time?
Poland played, I want to say Taiwan. I'm probably going to be wrong.
Oh, that sounds right, actually. Yeah, I think I remember them talking about that. I was sharing, of course. We were sharing our misery. Of course, Lothar was here with us last week. Poland got defeated. The United Kingdom got defeated. So we were all drowning our miseries in the evening and consoling each other of our team's woeful performances. But Poland back with a bang now. I kill you as the team anchor leading the way, with his HCT experience behind them. And both sides of the coin are represented on Team Poland. You have the player with the big competitive history like I Kill You, and then just the big community figure, the streamer, the content creator in Black Fire Ice. These are some of the people that you are now seeing get a shot at the highest level of competitive play, who normally aren't too concerned with that thing. But yeah, Black Fire Ice, huge stream in his native language. I believe just by far the biggest Polish language streamer for Hearthstone.
Yeah, I believe so. And then there's MKR as well. It does a lot of YouTube content and streaming as well. So
hey, look, that's here.
Yeah, hey, we are over there.
Yeah.
Are we actually near any of these shots? I think we were near one of them, right?
I have no idea. I didn't see them last week, so I couldn't tell you. Oh, yeah,
that's
there
the one.
go.
Yeah, we're near there, guys. So try and find us, hide and seek. Let's go, try and find the studio. Whereas Mexico, a little bit different than Poland, as you can see, looks absolutely amazing. And from what I know of the scene in Mexico is that it feels very much like the French scene. In terms of, you know, it's quite enclosed.
Oh, is that so? Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. From what I've grasped of it, actually as well. So they have, you know, a huge ton of streamers that stream in their native language as well. So it feels like, you know, very similar to the French scene, quite enclosed, but they're very strong though. As you can see, I know Epsilon in the team is actually, it's going to be coming up first. Perfect. Is actually a pretty big streamer. So she'll be looking to get some marks on, you know, make her viewers proud. There's going to be Hunter and Warrior potentially up against Priest or Paladin from Tutek, and this is a best of 5. Just to remind everyone here, first team to 3. Each player plays one game. I say the ace player who returns if it's going to be a 2-2 for the deciding game. Each player can only pick one of their 2 classes they have represented there on the screen to actually play their match. So it's going to be kicking off Hunter or Warrior from Epsilon versus Tutek's options.
Yeah, a little bit surprised. I was expecting I Kill You to be taking the Rogue because I know that he has been climbing ladder very successfully with it. I actually ran into him the other night. I think he was at 35 Legend with Quest Rogue, but MKR has taken control of the Rogue.
MKR played the Rogue last week first.
Okay.
And he apparently has only been playing Quest Rogue
that
the whole expansion.
All right.
So, yeah, so, you know, I think it's more, because MKR isn't a, you know, top-level professional player, it's, I'll give you this deck you are comfortable on. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him just pick the Rogue, especially when it's paired with Warlock as well, which is one of the weaker classes. But Epsilon has gone for Hunter versus Tutek's Priest. It's going to be a cool matchup to watch, as if there is that clear from Priest, just the once often, you know, most often, that, you know, Hunter could just be in for a rough ride of it.
Good, but yeah, I'm interested to watch this matchup play out because I feel like the Priest has a strong advantage in this matchup, and I brought it up with you earlier. You said that you felt it was okay for the Hunter, so definitely interesting to watch this one play out. But just going back to that MKR point, I think it's interesting because if the Mexico scouting is on point and they got that information from last week's broadcast, that might just be an element of predictability where we say, okay, well, he's just always going to pick Rogue here.
I'm pretty sure me and Lothar talked about it on the cast. You know, Lothar knowing the Polish scene a lot more than I do. You know, he's much more close to it, of course. I think he was saying that MKR's played a lot of that Quest Rogue, and he picked it first game as well. So we'll see what happens here. But we can see Epsilon, Tutek getting ready. Tutek looks like a content creator because he has that green screen background. Either YouTube or Twitch, or probably both. Whereas Epsilon is quite a big streamer as well. She gets a good chunk of viewers and has many, many loyal fans as well. Got a Hearthstone poster in the background as well, so that's looking good.
You just said Hearthstone.
As it is a slip. Hearthstone, of course.
Get out. But yeah,
I don't take orders from you, Subtle.
back to the matter at hand. Hunter coming up against Priest, and a lot will depend on what the Priest makeup of the deck is. Good chance that Hunter is some kind of mid-range variation. There's been 1 or 2 face Hunter style decks knocking around, but nothing really proving too successful just yet. Whereas the Priest, such a wide variety of, is the Lyra cycle build with or without Divine Spirit in a fire. We just saw Medivh free from Amber nonsense coming out from Nick Chipper. There's Dragon Priest, there's humongous Razorleaf Silence Priest. I mean, Priest, I don't think Anduin has ever been this happy in a Hearthstone metagame. There's just suddenly...
Or just this unpredictable.
Right. I mean, yeah, Priest was always predictable in the past because the prediction was that you don't ever see Priest because it's bad and no one plays it. But I'm going to trail off from that train of thought very quickly and talk about this Murloc War Leader that is chilling in Epsilon's opening hand.
Okay, play after my own high. Before the expansion, I actually put the Finger package in Hunter, and it was pretty good because it's the Finger package, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
No,
It's
I do.
It's
Exactly.
just a good set of cards, and also generates threats for Hunter quite easily through one card. Thins your deck, which again helps Hunter out a lot.
Sure.
So there was, believe it or not, I've tried every single card you can imagine in Hunter, but there was logic behind the Finger pie. I've not seen it since. But hey, Mexico, right? Why not? Let's see what it can do.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's find out. Let's find out if it'll get there or not. The rest of the deck seems fairly conventional. That Barnes, of course, makes sense if you have Finger in your deck, as well as War Leaders that can still be a huge buff to you later on.
An additional charge.
Yep, and then, of course, just the standard cards. Hunter, pretty much since the great purge of Naxxramas removed most of the efficient death rattles from the game.
Still roll a high main, though.
Right, Hunter became basically the death rattle class when they have Kindly Grandmother, they have Infested Wolf, they have Savannah Highmane. They still have all these high-quality death rattles available to them that other classes just don't get to play with anymore since we waved goodbye to all the Haunted Creepers and the Rubian Eggs and Piloted Shredders from the game.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the highest chance of getting a good roll from the Barnes there, but there's still tons of whiffs as well. You can still just get a 1-1, but a lot of the time at least they're beasts, which means you can get some kind of high main kill command advantage as well. But the +4 attack is going to be nice here. Sorry, the +3 making it 4 attack is going to be nice here. Very difficult for the Priest here from Tritek to actually deal with.
It was right up until the point where we drew Power Word Shield that turn. Then it became relatively straightforward.
Yeah, and this is where the questions get asked. I said you're right at the start. If there's a strong clear early on, it can be very, very difficult indeed for the Hunter to crawl back into this game. This animal comp is probably just going to have to be Misha, and it isn't.
There is some weird and interesting clears you could do this turn if you want to. Remember that Pyromancer now has 4 health, so you could heal the Pyro back up, trade into the Leok, and then just Potion of Madness it, and it dies. And your Pyro lives at 1 HP.
That is strange indeed. Is there a... I actually just prefer Radiant Elemental Shadow Visions. Okay.
Well,
and then you can trade.
It appears Tutek is a fan of the weird and unusual play.
Well, let's see if he finishes it, though.
That's true. It's a fair point. There's no way. I mean, like, you're committing to kill this Leok in some way or the other, because if you don't, then there's a 4/6 on the board next turn if your opponent has Houndmaster, which is
could well lose.
Absolutely crushing against Priest, right?
Yep. He's going to go into it. There's the potion. It's going to clear it off, as you said, the 1 damage from using this spell. I just feel like the Radiant Elemental, along with the Shadow Visions, 1 gains your additional card, leaves you a Radiant Elemental on the board, and I think you can just get more value out of Potion of Madness than that, to be honest.
I think you can too, yeah. When you're up against a deck that probably plays Kindly Grandmother for a start, then yeah, Potion of Madness is a very strong card.
Tundra Rhino value. If you steal enough priests.
Wait, what? Potion of Madness, the opponent's Tundra Rhino.
If you have Peace in hand as well, that was sick.
Sure.
Okay, well, now this is going to look a little bit more awkward now. Do 3 damage to Stedagon. But not much else.
No, he can just choose to trade in first, put the damage in, Radiant Elemental into double Shadow Vision and try and go off that way. He's going to lose his Pyro no matter what that way.
Yeah, even if you create another Pain and Pain it.
Right.
Why not?
There is no clear this turn that I see this time. Obviously, you can make a similar looking play where you heal up the Pyromancer, trade in, and then try and cast some spells, but that doesn't get there anymore. So I think it's probably just Radiant Elemental turn, although it will be punished a little bit by that same Houndmaster if it is present in hand. It yet again makes another huge 4 damage minion coming down, but at least it would be off curve in this situation for Epsilon.
Yeah, even off curve though, it's extremely powerful, right? Like it's potentially even game winning at that point. But I do like the Radiant Elemental. Worst case you get a pain and have to play it again. It's actually a pretty reasonable case, and just throw away the damage. Priest of the Feast.
You go Priest of the Feast. It's just this play is fine. Obviously, it's just the curve play on the board. I'm looking from the.
That was the card I was going to start talking about. If there's just a kill command though, you just get a great trade into the Priest.
That's true. But I'm looking at this from the perspective of there being Orkanai in hand already. Shadow Visions need to get cast at some point to give you those options to dig to Circle of Healing, because that can be a huge blowout for you at some point in this game. So that felt like a decent enough turn to do it. Although Radiant Elemental is for sure one of your highest value cards in the deck for being able to do insane things even in the late game with Lyra if you draw it. It felt like a good opportunity to, give yourself very high percentage chances to grab a Circle of Healing. Then you could almost just afford to sit back for a couple of turns and be comfortable that you could clear.
Yeah, I think as well because there's at least for turn 5, so you do all the digging beforehand. If you don't get it, you just drop a lease. If you do get it, great. There's the awesome card, Lyra.
Is this just an Elise turn, though? Now, Radiant Elemental can be played alongside both Shadow Visions, and a 2-mana spell could get played, but I can't think of a 2-mana spell with particular relevance on this board state right now.
Frostbolt. You never said it had to be a free spell.
Touché.
Yeah. Take the victories where I can get them. Yeah, this is now a huge problem, because if you play Elise, and there is a kill command around, then you just sort of just get pushed even harder on the turn, because even Priest of Feast still does kind of nothing, and then you give the Hunter here a lot more leeway. Ooh, do you have to just dig Shadow Visions this turn and try and Soul Priest Circle next turn?
I really don't mind Elise. Like, Elise is just very competitive on this board. Yeah, if there's a kill command, but if your opponent kill commands, they're not playing Savannah Highmane on turn 6.
Sure.
And with this hand right now, you really don't want your opponent to play Savannah Highmane on turn 6.
Okay, so we are going to see the Elise. So Two-Tech agrees. Now it's going to be on Epsilon and Team Mexico to work out exactly how they want to respond. They'll be already planning out ideas for how to use this Tundra Rhino going forward, but definitely going to be used with Rat Pack, for example, later on to get that multiple charge and value from the Beast. But for now, need to work out what they want to do on this board. I do just like Kill Command Push. Kill Command Rat, go. Maybe even just Kill Command Hero Power.
Kill Command Rat, just dome him for 8.
Yeah.
The Priest of the Feast hanging around. I mean, that's the scary part of a play like that, right? Is like you're switching to a damage push and you're leaving Priest of the Feast on the board, which never really feels like you're achieving too much.
Yeah, I just think like the damage push isn't spells outside of the kill command on Elise, which is actually just dealing with a minion.
Yeah.
So it's not like you go in, oh, let's double kill command face and hope, right? You just hit them for 8. They probably don't have a good answer to this board unless they Dragonfire. If they Dragonfire, it's their whole turn, and you can develop even more minions going forward. I think it's fine. I like putting Priest in an awkward spot. Oh, it actually looks like it's going to trade instead. Okay. Just leave the 4/5 on an empty board. Reasonable.
Full trades out the Priest of the Feast instead of picking up the value trade instead. The value trade would have left the Stegodon at 2 HP and had the Houndmaster remaining at 3, so they would have been protected against Holy Nova. Dragonfire Potion isn't a concern, because Dragonfire Potion would kill this anyway. I'm a little bit confused about why the value trade didn't happen in that spot. I guess Orkanai Ping would be bad for you. They would take down the 4/2, and you would have a 3/5 less contesting a 4/3 on the board.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Probably just valuing the, even if there was is there any fear at all of a Pyro? I don't think so, because anything Pyro does that deals enough damage to one clears the other anyway.
I think like one Pyro has been used, and you as the hunter are the aggressor in this matchup at this point. So once one of something has been used, as the aggro deck, you probably just shut your eyes and say, okay, if they have the second one, they have the second.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of time for Poland. We did see Poland have some tight turns last week in terms of timing. And I almost saw MKR actually missed a very in-depth quest rogue turn and missed attacks last week. But But now just Lyra being just played onto the board. Why are we not seeing... I mean, I know why, because it's the hope that Lyra lives, but that hope is a long shot. I would have just preferred to just say, okay, Elemental Shadow Visions, go.
Yeah, this is a higher tempo play, I guess, and you just saw a kill command get used. You've seen one Houndmaster, which would be additional punish, and honestly, Hunter isn't a class that leverages, tempo from off the board too well in general. No! Right? Like, Eaglehorn bows are often now a one-of. You just saw a kill command get used. So the options to actually deal with that board state of just needing that one extra damage, you just saw an Unleash get used as well, which would have done it. So maybe there's just a ton of upside to that kind of board position that Poland felt was justified. And we don't really know the full makeup of their priest deck here. They might have, significant win conditions, or they might just feel like survival is enough of a win condition in itself against Hunter that they don't need that Lyra to really go off for them. Like we saw it to such great success from Nick Chipper.
Yeah, that's true. We can see the Glimmer Root being drawn now. Cool card. I'm not sure how valuable it actually is. It's just a 3-mana 3/3 draw a card, effectively. Well, draw a card from your opponent's deck, should I say. Ooh, there's Shadow Visions into the Ungoro pack. And a Circle. Circle of Healing, although Ungoro's a ton of value, you've got another chance at it where Circle of Healing does clear this board alongside the Organized Soul Priest as well.
Yeah, I like Circle and I like using it.
I mean, you could Okanai. Oh, you couldn't have Okanai Hero Power at that point, actually, so you need to kill that random.
Not after you cast the Shadow Visions, no. And this is just another question, right? When you're up against Hunter, how many times can you continue to keep doing an annoying 1 point of damage over and over again? The question was asked on the previous turn with the Lyra. It's being asked now again with the Orkanai. And the answer, unless Epsilon finds a Bluegill Warrior, as we talked about before, of that Barnes, then this 1 point of damage is not getting dealt.
Definitely a tough one. But it's just a Rat Pack into Houndmaster, which doesn't feel great, to be honest. But also creates an awkward board to deal with yet again. When you've just seen the Circle was used off the from the Shadow Vision, so you know it wasn't just on demand.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have had to Shadow Visions it. Okay. Pyro helps.
So no way to cleanly do 3 to the Houndmaster as of yet. She can, 2-tech can ping and trade through into the Rat Pack, and then go off with Pyro Shadow Visions to clear up those 4 1/1s that will get spawned. But the 4/3 is still irritating in that situation.
There is a risky play where you do this. You Hero Power trade, go Pyro with the Elemental, and then Shadow Vision.
Oh, yeah, right. This is much better. Yeah.
It's just, the odds on you drawing a low enough card to play are very, very high here. So it's not super risky, but risky enough. Like, I'm pretty sure there weren't enough spells in the deck that you wouldn't get at least 1 playable card.
Right.
So yeah, this is actually really nice. Completely clears the board due to that second Shadow Visions.
Yep, no, that's a really good spot. Was not looking at this at all, but that is for sure a full clear here.
Another weird potion of madness.
It does take down his Pyro with it if he wants to go down that line.
Yeah.
And he's deciding whether he wants to tempo the Radiant Elemental on the board. He saw that there was no small source of damage to take care of the Orkanai on the previous turn.
Okay, I like this. I mean, your opponent's got 2 cards, 3 in hand, right? Hunter normally at this point actually only has 1, if anything, because they do run out of cards very quickly. Curator. That's a good card for Hunter if you want to fill up your hand.
Yeah, I mean, this just makes sense, right?
Oh,
I expected this to be in here once we saw that
it's a really good draw, I mean.
This was the War Leader, so 1 Hyena, 1... okay, when I said it, I was expecting Curator. I was not expecting Ysera. That one has admittedly caught me by surprise.
Yeah, okay, I'll hold my hands up as well. I like to think of myself as a aficionado, a peddler of Hunter decks. I have not seen this version. I'm not going to lie to anyone. The Murlocs I can get behind. The Ysera, I'm just shocked. You see the Glimmer is going to be the Alley Cat pickup. Maybe. This one, maybe it's not, maybe it's Snipe. If it is, new favorite Hunter deck. Okay. Alley Cat seems most reasonable. And that is such a shame here for Poland. That was high, mate. Things change.
They do. And no answer, as of right now, to that Scavenging Hyena, which means it is free to grow over the coming turns. And there is double War Leader in hand as well, which generates 2 4/4s when they're played on the board together. 2 5/4s, sorry, when they're played on the board together, representing a huge amount of damage.
Importantly as well, how does Priest ever kill Ysera?
They don't.
Good answer, yeah. Okay, Ysera, good card versus Priest, confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
We just find this out now after 3 years of Ysera being in the set. Yeah, with no Entomb, Dragonfire Potion does nothing. We've already seen one circle. There's another. No Arcanine, though, and that isn't even close enough to do him 12 damage. Wow, this Ysera might just end the game.
Epsilon looks very cheerful about proceedings right now.
No, don't blame her.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be pretty cheerful too.
Got a Scavenging Hyena sticking to the board. I've got a 4/6 taunt against Priest. I've got a 6 damage charging Bluegill Warrior in my hand. And most importantly, I have an Ysera.
It sounds like they start to a very bad joke, you know. So there was a Hyena, Curator, and Ysera walked into the bar.
Yeah.
The Priest conceded. Done, there's the joke. Because even now with the Bluegill and War Leaders, this is just absolutely ludicrous at this point.
This is so bizarre because this is just a real option of, hey, let's just control the board and drop Ysera.
Yeah,
and
do it.
That just wins me the game from this point. And look at the face!
Half of them is like, okay, you win this round, you play Ysera. Okay, well, there's a way Ysera can be dealt with.
That is a very good point. 1 Vile Spine Slayer, please. Tortolan Primal.
Oh, please. 2 tech.
Do it.
Do it for science.
Do it.
I've never seen this card go off.
It's actually not quite as catastrophically bad as you might think it is because it's Discover a spell. You know, you get the chance of, like, if Twisting Nether or Doom comes up, you just pick that. Yeah, Master Spell, sweet. Mine.
No.
No.
2 tech. Do it.
You never
Do it.
risk this.
Do it for Poland.
You never.
For your country.
You never risk. Oh, he does. He does.
Oh! Look at Epsilon's face. There was a moment.
Oh, actually, to be fair, random target, since Master Spell only hits one side of the board, the random target could have targeted back at your side of the board, so it's actually a risk either way in that regard.
Oh, does it work like that?
Yes, it does.
But you can't ever mind control your own minion, right?
No.
So-
Because, like, Noggin Fogger actually allows illegal things to do as well, so I presume that it works in the same way as that.
Okay, well, that would have been pretty impressive overall. To just been nuts. Fair play to you. You've got my respect. And the respect of Poland. Sometimes you just got to go for the glory plays.
How much damage is this even?
A
That
lot.
is 6 damage charging Bluegill alongside the 8 they have. That's 14-19 with the Nightmare. He's 1 damage off, 2 from the hero power. Lethal. Epsilon has 2 extra 2 from the hero power. I believe that is just 21.
GG. What a way to go. You just got beat up by Murloc, Dragon, Beast, Hunter with Ysera. Bit of a celebration there from Epsilon. Very happy to get that first point on the board for Mexico, and things are going downhill for Poland already. 1-0 victory. Looking pretty happy with the team there. Well, on comps with the team, should I say.
How could you not be? You've just played a Curator and Ysera and then killed your opponent with a 6 damage charging double War Leader buffed Bluegill Warrior in Hunter. That is the asterisk at the end of that entire explanation. That was a Hunter deck.
I found a new player to put in my rogues gallery of Hunter players, and as that was quite impressive overall. And I wonder the thought pattern or thought path that went into. Okay, I'll play Hunter. I'm gonna play Beasts. I'm gonna play Murlocs.
So
I'm gonna play Ysera.
I'm gonna play Beasts. Okay, with you so far. Go on.
Reasonable. And then fair play. Tutek gets like a a side point here, a Raven point we'll call them. He's currently on 1 Raven point to go for the mind control. Missed, but to be fair, if that hit Ysera, the game does change dramatically.
Yeah, absolute huge outcome off the back of that. You know, I am just guessing essentially how Tortolan Primalist works. I don't have extensive experience with it, but just judging off the way that Noggin Fogger works in the past, who, of course, being a fellow countryman of Green Sheep, I know exactly how Noggin Fogger works.
Of course. Next matchup we've got coming up is Irvin G versus I Kill You. I Kill You saying, well, our Hunter deck isn't as good as that. I'm going to play Mage instead.
Seems fair.
Yeah, completely reasonable. It's going to be Mage versus Druid. How do these matchups, potentially go? We talk a lot about Freeze Mage, but it just factually is that popular at the moment versus the potential Druid decks.
Yeah, we saw one curveball already in that absolutely crazy Quest Mage game up against Greece. But apart from that, we've been seeing Freeze Mage fairly consistently yesterday from the players that brought Mage. I Kill You, I'm fairly confident is going to be piloting a Freeze Mage as well, and that means if this Druid is an aggro Druid from Irvin G representing Mexico, it's going to struggle because, you know, the way that aggro Druid functions is build a board, buff the board, leverage the board, and you cannot be pushing damage with your minions if your minions are being cleared by Doomsayers, being cleared by Blizzards, frozen by Frost Novas, etc. You know, other aggressive decks have burst damage from hand. They have, you know, Jade Lightnings, Lava Bursts, kill commands, all that kind of stuff. Druid needs to hold board to be able to push through, and Freeze Mage makes that very difficult.
Yeah, and Irvin G is actually the highest HCT point earner from Mexico with 25 total points. Again, when you look at some of the other regions with a lot less, you can see how Mexico sort of stands up here. Has some major tournament performances in terms of the Copa America qualifiers, which is a pretty big tournament over there. Whereas I Kill You, we know a lot about him. He was in top 4 Summer Championship, and most importantly, there he is on a boat.
Yeah, what more do you need to know? Man's on a boat. There is a picture of it. That's just fact.
He's on a boat.
It's a matter of public record.
There you go. He likes to sail boats.
Tell me more.
I don't know a lot about boats.
Yeah,
I'm scared of boats. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't swim, can you?
Yeah.
Let's have a discussion about how Raven can't swim.
Let's have a discussion about how you're afraid of mushrooms if you want instead.
Move Yeah.
Victory, sweet, sweet victory. Okay, it's going to be I Kill You on the Mage against the Druid. It's from Irvin G. I'm looking forward to this one, see if it's going to be Freeze Mage or if the Polish guys have come up with something else.
Yeah, I do want it. I expect it to be Freeze Mage. I know I Kill You. I think, you know, I've run into him on ladder, as I said, playing Quest Rogue. I think I queued into him as well. I think what he's been doing over the last few days is just labbing out the best deck.
Yeah,
you know,
just playing the good stuff.
Because it doesn't even matter which deck you control to an extent. You know, I made the point that I was a little surprised that he didn't have the Quest Rogue in his locker because, of course, although as of right now we're seeing these players playing one by one on camera, they are all communicating with each other. It's a collaborative effort on each game. So, you know, the sum of knowledge between all the players is what comes together to be controlling the quality of your play with each deck. So you do really want to have strong input on all of the strongest decks in the meta as a player in this.
Yeah, especially when you look at Team Poland, I Kill You will very much be the shot caller, no doubt, in terms of this team. The team, they're good players, but they are focused on streaming, content creation, and such, whereas I Kill You is 100% competitive professional player. So he'll be calling all the shots. It doesn't look like it's Freeze Mage. It's going to be going up against Mexico's aggro Druid, a deck you adore, Sotel.
I do. I enjoy this deck. I wouldn't quite go as far as adore. I do find it very entertaining. It's just a fun deck to do. It plays with combat math in an entertaining way. It's just a nice, interesting deck for me to climb quickly with at the start of the season, which is where I kind of took a shining to it. But if you want to talk about decks I adore, Freeze Mage is the one in this matchup that I actually genuinely have an affinity with.
Yeah, you know, we talked about how quickly climbing in the season with aggro Druid. I've heard a few people have tried Pirate Warrior for that in this expansion, been doing pretty well, so you could try that next maybe.
No.
Good answer. Enchanted Raven is available in the opening hand. Always a good game when that happens. Firefly as well, a card we've discussed at length in terms of cards just good. You know, so much value, especially when you play a token deck with a lot of buffs and you want to push early damage. Just having a 1-2 for 1 that generates another 1-2 for 1 in your hand is absolutely obscene, especially when we can see Innovate, Power of the Wild, Mark of Yasharaj. This could actually blow up very quickly for Irvin G and Team Mexico here.
It really could, yeah. This early Innovate being spiraled just into a decent wide board state is the way you're going to get through the most damage quickly in this matchup, because if you can get through a decent buffed board state within the first 2 or 3 turns, that's when Freeze Mage doesn't really have a way to deal with that situation too effectively. If you start pushing wide only on turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, that's when the Frost Nova Doomsayer answers, the Blizzard answers, they all come into play. And this is a matchup where you need to make these things happen, because I was just about to make this point. Not a matchup, unlike most, where you can just rely on Living Mana. Living Mana is a very, very powerful card. There are a couple of matchups where it is a genuine liability. One is Priest, because Potion of Madness is a big blowout for you in those kind of situations. Master Spell is Fringe, but of course is backbreaking as well. Shaman, Devolve Fringe as well, but that absolutely destroys you. But Freeze Mage, they just Frost Nova you. And then, then you literally have to pass the next turn because you have maybe 1 mana available to you, and you just generally have a bad time.
Yeah, okay, so Acolyte, an interesting play here. If the clean trade happens with the Raven, it means that the Raven is then on 1 health, which means that the ping does all the work here. But now OvenG is actually going to get some value with this push, and it looks like it's just going to ignore the Acolyte. Don't blame him at all here. Let's just punch him in the face. Eggnapper to follow up later on for some more. A bit of a stickier board as well.
And now, this is exactly what I was talking about. Force through a wide board early, push as much damage as you can. Now you're asking for a very inefficient use of Frost Nova here, just to prevent death or an Ice Block pop from I Kill You and Poland. So he can draw a card off his Acolyte here, he can start to get value out of that, but there's no way he can just tank this damage again. Maybe if he drew a Frostbolt, he can Frostbolt the 5-3 and allow this board to live for one more turn, try and find that Doomsayer to combine, but even then you're just really pushing it, right?
Yeah, and the problem is if you're using the big AoE this early, it means that that living mana is more and more valuable going forward, just because the odds on them having something so soon is as low as they're going to get. In any given game here. So we are going to see the trade for the Acolyte now. Let's see what I Kill You is going to draw. Pyroblast, the worst draw he could have got in the whole deck.
Quite possibly, yeah. I can't think of anything significantly worse off the top of my head, but
card that's coming the latest, right?
Right. It's but at this point in the situation that he's in, it's not even really a sliding scale of like these cards are the best, these cards are the worst. There is just a list of good cards and a pretty long list of bad cards as well. Like the power of the aggression of this start from OvenG is just of such a ferocity that there are only a few cards in the Freeze Mage's deck that become relevant against it at this point.
Yeah. And then now, War Leader not going to be doing too much here, as there's no Murlocs available yet. But even just Eggnapper this turn, you're suddenly not really bothered. Oh, is there ever a world in which you coin the hero power to stop the trade into patches?
I believe so, yeah. I think it's probably worth it. Yeah,
okay,
first,
this way, right.
Free drop.
I was like, you think you do play the Eggnapper, Evan? I'm pretty sure you do. So he's going to go for his second Pyro. So I Kill You looks like he favors the no Antonidas list. Yep. So it's something I can get behind. I've been dirty ratted my Antonidas out too often to count at this point.
All right.
Glyph could get him answer.
He can play Glyph. If he doesn't hit anything, he can bail out and play Frost Nova. He shouldn't need to Ice Block yet as a pure matter of not dying necessity, but there is an issue with, when do I find the mana to play this Ice Block? How do I, my mana is so tight now based on the amount of pressure that I'm under that where do I find the space to get these Ice Blocks developed? But even if Ice Block were to come down this turn, if he doesn't Frost Nova as well, it's going to get procced, so it's going to probably just be a Frost Nova almost always.
That's what I was going to say as well, because it's also, say you plan to Frost Nova this turn, Ice Block next turn. If next turn your Ice Block gets procced, you may as well not play the Ice Block at a certain extent, right?
Exactly.
So I do like this play, trying to draw Barrier. So now Barrier, Ice Block, there's a chance. Combined with the 2-3 trade. Although now Mark of the Lotus can really help out with that. Makes your board even more resilient to the Blizzard into trade here. I mean, is there any reason not to War Leader Mark here?
It does feel a little bit bad to be using a Mark of the Lotus and not getting any immediate value out of it. If Blizzard were to come down the next turn, or there was, second Frost Nova and Doomsayer potentially, or that kind of thing, then you're throwing away one of the most aggressive cards, one of your quote burst cards in Mark of the Lotus, and throwing it away for nothing. But there's also the idea that, hero power just pushes one this turn, and maybe one matters this game.
That's true. That is very true. You can also,
Time waits for no one.
Depending on the way the board shapes up, there's a chance you can even live in mana Mark of the Lowest next turn as well, if needed, because living mana uses the amount of mana of minions it can create on the board. It does not just always overwrite it, so it potentially eats up more. So you can actually potentially fit it in pretty well.
Roping on the War Leader decision and choosing to hold on to it in the end there, so... the Arcanologist played on the previous turn by I Kill You, got him the Ice Barrier, which does extend his longevity just a little bit, gives him a chance of an unfrozen turn where an Ice Block doesn't get popped.
Is this the turn you Ice Barrier and block, though? Or do you actually try and Glyph it?
I like Glyph, yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got to rely on the Ice Barrier doing the job here.
It's the card on the left. It's another Glyph, okay. Yep.
Again.
Rebuy. And 4-mana Blizzard?
Third Pyro, go.
4-mana Blizzard looks pretty tasty to me in this spot.
Trade first? Oh no, you trade second, right?
Eggnapper and Raptors,
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah.
So the difference is you leave one minion up that can attack, but is a 1/1 plus whatever's in hand going to be enough of a problem?
Right. Yeah, I think valuing having the 2/2 remaining on board when your opponent has just shown that he can't really deal with it before is valuable to me, but IKillYou disagrees. He's just going to trade first and get the maximum
as well, because all these minions go to 1 after the Blizzard, which means the 2 attack is very valuable if there's another Power of the Wild, a Mark of the Lotus, you can actually kill 1 more.
That's fair, yeah.
Interesting, because you've already seen 1 power, right?
You saw a Power of the Wild, yeah.
Yeah, so the odds that the cards in hand are mark power, you know, it's like, come on.
But I guess, you know, if you take Cast Division out of the equation and just think about it from IKillYou's perspective, he looked up at a hand last turn, which in response to a Frost Nova with 2 open spaces on the board,
did nothing.
Nothing was played. Sure. So he is probably reading a hand of, you know, a potential couple of buff effects. He knows there wasn't a Savage Roar there as of 2 turns ago. There was a turn where Savage Roar was lethal, I believe. But still, of course, 2 or 3 cards have been drawn by then, so they could still be representing that threat of Savage Roar.
Yeah, and also Savage Roar would be played this early anyway if there's ever a good opportunity. Because you push the damage and you're so many turns away from Alexstrasza, why would you want to push the damage while you could?
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be a Firefly, which again, you know, very valuable card. And a Flame Elemental on the board as well, no doubt. There. See what he chooses to go for. Does have the Wall Eater. I can't see much reason to not do any of this. He's going to Hero Power instead. Save the Flame Elemental.
It's just got him on an 8-turn clock. It's just going to get him with the Hero Power. Who needs minions to attack? Yeah, again, no freeze effect found. Ice Barrier puts him at 15. A ping can take 2 off the board, so he'd be staring at 3, 5, 7, 8 damage, plus that would be 12 from a 1 single buff, 13 from the hero power. So Ice Barrier, Ping, and Loot Hoarder is a theoretically quasi-safe play unless there was a Savage Roar. And again, as we've just discussed, you have a clean read on the cards on the left-hand side of the hand not being Savage Roar, because they would have killed you at one point if they were.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is I guess the hero power, I guess it didn't matter. Interesting. He would have been 1 off if he played the Flame Elemental and not hero powered. Anyway, and he's 1 off if one of these minions gets pinged from Mark of the Lotus through Ice Barrier, sorry. So it's just the things to, again, it's more like what actually beats me here and how do I set up lethal no matter what. But he was always going to be 1 off through Ice Barrier, so he chose to hold the minion instead. So that actually just makes sense. As opposed to going heavy. Fireball onto the Wall Eater.
So this is safer, and this is a plus-minus column debate that you always have to have with yourself when you're playing Freeze Mage. This takes more damage off the board. It also plays around Bluegill Warriors as sources of damage that will kill you. But you haven't made any progress this turn. Freeze Mage has a linear plan that they have to progress towards, where you draw cards, you get a necessary amount of cards in your hand to identify a win condition to you, and then you create the necessary amount of turns to activate that win condition. Ice Barrier and Fireball and Minion did nothing to protect your game plan, except trying to pull you 1 turn closer to Alexstrasza. But getting 1 turn closer to Alexstrasza doesn't help you if you can't answer this board state in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. The next draws pretty much need to be Blizzard, and second block as well to try and beat through that. But the problem is you can't block and Alexstrasza in the same turn. So ask a lot of questions of yourself in terms of survivability, as you said, in terms of gaining extra themselves. But FNG didn't have the best draw in the world with the Innovate there.
That is an understatement, to say the least. That would be like saying that Irvin G doesn't have the best webcam in the world.
Yeah, compared to IKillYou's, there's a slight difference in quality. Yeah, IKillYou's webcam looks sick, actually.
Now I feel really, really bad for mocking his webcam quality.
Now he's probably DC'd, and you cursed him, Saul. So this, we'll see what happens here. This is going to be a tough one. Glad it's not my call as to what exactly goes on with a disconnect, as Evan G actually just completely skipped the turn. This changes everything when the game was so close. See what the Intellect's going to draw anyway, as IKillYou continues. Ooh, 1 mana off the Blizzard. Can use the Valet and a Ping to take off 2 of these minions, though.
There's only 1 player playing this game, so I don't really feel like commentating it anymore.
Okay, we're going to find out what's happened here. This is so late into the game as well.
There we go.
IKillYou's like, got him!
So yeah, I'm sure we will gain information from the admins as soon as possible. We just saw I kill you messaging to try and find out what is happening, and we will try to get to the bottom of that as soon as possible. But as you can see, the webcam disappeared simultaneously with the game getting disconnected there. So clearly some internet issues going on for the Mexican team, or for the one player in particular, and hopefully they'll be able to get back into the game, and we will reach a quick resolution for this.
Right, we'll work out what's going on. That game was in a multitude of tricky spots for kind of both players as well. You know, Irvin was in a strong position quite early on and continued to pile on the pressure. But there were, you know, multiple draws, multiple potential outs. There was ice blocks in hand as well, along with Alex Straza. So there's potential that there was an Alex Straza, well, a clear into Alex Straza with the living mana turn. Doesn't really apply any instant pressure. It was living mana and like innovate, right? So
yeah,
tough one.
There were a lot of ifs, but that was a very explosive start from the aggressive Druid and really had the Freeze Mage on the back foot. But Freeze Mage is a very comfortable deck at playing on the back foot. They can almost always find a way to force themselves out of all but the most oppressive starts. And since that start happened, just the foot came off the gas a little bit. That Innovate draw was pretty dead, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, that game has now entered into the ether and it did not exist. So we will probably be ending up with another fresh game as we look back at the... No, looks like I Kill You has taken the win, judged to be a clear disconnect for Irvin G, and he is the one to take the loss, meaning Poland will square up the series.
Yeah, it's going to go 1-1, I believe. Disconnect, you know, so late into the game as well is just going to be the loss there for Irvin G. And next game is going to be Yenis versus MKR. MKR on the Rogue, called it. And Yenis on the Warlock as well. And again, you always wonder how much, watching VODs, research, etc., that anyone does to prepare for a tournament.
Yep.
Some players do a lot of it, some players don't do a lot. Doesn't mean they're bad players. But, I felt like from what we knew of, from what we knew of MKR from last week, what we saw from him and what we saw from the team, that this Rogue pick was pretty obvious, especially when you see it next to Warlock. So now it feels like if Yenis knows this and Team Mexico know this, they chose to play this Warlock into Quest Rogue to try and go faster than they would, I guess, and try and win out that way.
Right, which gives the overwhelming suggestion that the Warlock they're playing is Zoo, and they're just going to try and beat up the Quest Rogue before it can really get anything relevant done. But it's where potentially things like Glacial Shard can come into play to really limit the speed of development. And there you go, nearly 100,000 followers for MKR as a Polish Twitch streamer and extensive card game background. 10 different card games played competitively in the past.
That's kind of crazy. I've played one card game competitively, maybe two if you count Snap, and yeah, we'll see how that one turns out. Whereas on the Yenis side, so 13 HCT points in 2016, not a lot, not tons, because then you can get one a year from Legend. So not too many there, but does compete in the Copa America's Open qualifiers, and that's what I was kind of talking about earlier in terms of like the Mexican / the rest of South America team actually having more of an insular scene because they have a lot of tournaments based purely in that region.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely fair, and I think MKR. I mentioned Blackfire Ice was kind of, more of a content creator, Twitch streamer, really entering into competitive play. MKR pretty much along the same lines, right? I think Poland is a good mix of the kind of thing that I really expected to see, when the voting system was announced. These are the kind of mishmash teams that I really expected to see put together. One or two of the most popular competitive players that people have really seen had success from the country mixed in with just, YouTubers, content creators, Twitch streamers, all these kind of guys. And I think that actually creates a really fun dynamic, especially when you factor in that the players can all just communicate with each other. So your team is almost always almost at the power level of just your strongest player, brings the rest of the team up to their level potentially, because they can be, as you put it, the shot caller for all of the matchups over comms.
Yeah, and the only thing is, I wish Nimch was playing for Poland. That would be sick. I'd love to see that. But Nimch is actually working for Blizzard now and has worked on HGG, so he's made this happen. One of the guys who's actually made this tournament happen, so it's absolutely awesome. And we are going to be seeing, of course, the Warlock versus the Rogue. And I mentioned about last week as well, there were some turns, one especially, I can't remember which turn it was, but where MKR had a lot of things to do in the turn, and I could see his actual movement on the side monitor here, and I thought he'd missed it when I could see his screen. So that was it got a little bit dicey in moments, and especially if I Kill You has been playing a lot of Quest Rogue.
Yes.
You imagine that he's going to be kind of, joining in with MKR, who's also played a lot of Quest Rogue, maybe having some, mishmash of decisions, not agreeing on some plays. Suddenly it can get a bit hectic, and we almost saw MK miss a game-winning turn last week. So we'll see how that plays out today.
Yeah, and we've honestly, this is a very real thing. This isn't just us talking about the pitfalls of too many cooks spoil the broth and all these communication issues that you can run into. We have seen, in very real terms, players missing 12 damage because they didn't have time to queue up an attack. We've seen, auctioneer turns go wrong because the teams all talked to each other and then decided they were going to go for the auctioneer too late, couldn't react to the situation. We've seen those things come up over and over again, and it was something that we saw develop through Trinity Series as well, which was the other big team event that we've had recently in Hearthstone, where teams early on were very much just, dipping a toe into the water in terms of how their communication was functioning, and then they were coming at it with, more robust game plans as time went on. Apart from Luminosity, whose plan was just to meme incessantly regardless, and it worked out pretty well for them.
One of the benefits in this tournament, though, is that the teams are more than allowed to actually just talk in their native tongue as well. They do not have to speak English, as we are not dipping in on the calls, which is, I wouldn't be able to translate most of them, and by most I mean all but the English or American players. Sometimes I'd even struggle with American translations, to be honest. I feel like they often speak a different language than us.
Yeah, I feel like you also have the cause and effect backwards there. We are not dipping into the conversations because they are all talking in different languages. Yeah, exactly. It's not the other way around.
But it also means that, they need to communicate as a team, don't all speak English potentially, so that just wouldn't work if they were forced to. It would be quite ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, I know in particular Virtus Pro in Trinity did struggle maybe a little bit because they were asked to communicate in English, because hearing the player conversation was a big attraction of Trinity Series, and if they had their choice, they definitely would not have communicated amongst themselves in English.
Yeah, but just making sure the players are getting ready. We can see that I Kill You, I believe, is speaking Polish on his screen to the Polish admins here, so I have no idea what's going on, but they are just making sure. It won't be I Kill You, actually, of course, it'll be MKR.
Yes.
But just they're just probably just making sure everything's set. Probably just, making sure both teams are okay with the connection as well. If someone disconnects, obviously it didn't look like Mexico were all playing from the same location,
right?
But just want to make sure their internet's as cool as it can be. Make sure we've got a good, fair game of Hearthstone coming up. So what do you think about the potential Zoo versus Quest Rogue matchup?
Yeah, it's almost
good enough.
It's almost got even worse for. I mean, there are regards in which the Quest Rogue matchups against aggro have got even worse, because they've cut Backstab, Fan of Knives primarily from the deck, which can be early answers to the Flame Imps and such that will be coming out against them. But as time's gone on, you've seen little tech choices in the form of minions come into the Quest Rogue deck. You've seen Bilefin Tidehunter, 5/5 Taunt potentially once you get the quest off. Even Shield Bearer, as ridiculous as that sound, I've seen get played in Quest Rogue. And the combination of, Vanish being in the deck now can actually be decent to buy a turn.
Glacial Shard as well.
Glacial Shard is huge against aggro. More so probably against Pirate Warrior than anything else, because, that wins you some of the games where the Pirate Warrior draw just goes like Arcanite Reaper, upgrade, kill you. Sure. That really shuts that kind of thing down. But yeah, Glacial Shard bouncing can definitely be a way to buy a lot of time and buy some tempo against decks like Zoo. But more often than not, it's just going to be speed of quest that's the impact here, to find out you don't have much time against an aggressive deck. You don't have a great deal of control about how quickly you can activate your quest. You just have to mulligan as hard as you can and just activate the quest as quickly as you can. And that will be what we're looking for here from MKR and Poland.
Yeah, we don't have to buy any more time now, though, because it's going to be the Zoo versus Quest Rogue starting right now. And it looks like at least the Zoo is off to a reasonable opening. Flame Imp, Voidwalker, even Darkshide Councilman. Rogue doesn't really have an answer to that card at all until they can proc the quest. So that can actually present a huge threat in itself. Gonna mulligan it away.
Ooh, okay. There is a bit of a clash there. And one of the reasons why Lakari Fellhound was played with and then almost immediately discarded from these Zoo decks, because, pun not intended, you either discard the Fellhound out of your deck or you're going to play your Fellhound and it's going to discard your Doomguard. Those are basically the options. They seem to line up, right? And this is a big issue often with playing Leroy in the deck. If Leroy came in, you had to cut your Doomguards because they don't play nicely together. One was going to discard the other quite often. So Lakari Fellhound and Doomguard kind of had that same clash going on, and that was probably not the opening mulligan Giannis was looking to see, but that Fellhound probably just gets treated as a sacrificial lamb this game. With the aggressive start with the Flame Imps, he'll probably just look to follow up with Doomguard and not run the risk of being dropped by the Fellhound later on.
Yeah, I could see MKR just waving to the camera there, just saying hello to, no doubt, his legion of fans. They're going to be watching him here, no doubt. Gonna see, is the Balefin version. Set Team Mexico have just had enough. I'm joking, of course, he's back. Flaming. He's maybe going grabbing a quick drink or something. Ill-timed. But Imp into coin, yeah, seems pretty good.
Hold on, let me just coin these Flame Imps real quick. I'll be right back. All right, chill.
Someone's at the door.
I think that's actually what it was, more than likely, yeah.
Oh, he's Mom, I can't pause the game. I'm playing in Hearthstone Global Games, it's important.
I'm trying to Flame Imp this fall, okay?
Yeah. Often tied on it, it's going to come down as more of a defensive measure, but with the second one available, this means it can be bounced going forward, but very limited options now from MKR in terms of the following turns.
Double Voidwalker, this is one of the glowing, shining star uses of this. The Voidwalker as a card, it's not an aggressive card, but just small, annoying taunts are wonderful in the sense that it allows more aggressive minions like Flame Imps to just get repetitive damage while your opponents are forced to chew through these Voidwalkers. This is the inverse of the situation we talked about when we were casting the Quest Warrior mirror. Yeah. They cannot play combat tricks with taunt minions because almost all of their minions have taunt, whereas this is exactly the power of doing that kind of thing in a matchup where you really want those Flame Imps sticking around and hitting face over and over.
Yeah, and we can... Ooh, okay, Shadow Step helps out here, but you can see from MKR's reaction, no doubt you can just... I can guess what he's saying to the team. He's like, okay, guys, we might just lose this one because this opening is absolutely horrendous, especially because we can see Lakari Fellhound coming up in a turn or so.
I don't think Fellhound's getting played.
You think you skip Fellhound? I think aggro?
Right. I think like Doomguard coming out as a finisher is just way too important.
Okay. I mean, it depends on the draws, of course.
It does, yeah,
but,
absolutely.
I was just thinking, like, well, he ain't getting through Fellhound anytime soon, so he can actually stack up the damage quite a lot.
Yeah, Fellhound just doesn't kill you, though. Like, it only has 3 attack, whereas Doomguard gets attack on the turn that it plays. So in the time that Fellhound deals 3 damage, Doomguard deals 10.
Not true. What? The time Fellhound deals 6, Doomguard deals 5, because you get out turn early. How about that?
All right.
You know what I mean? You could.
Well, no, it deals 3 because it's still in the attacks 1.
Oh, yeah.
In that meantime, yeah.
Whatever. But most importantly, it could be used to defend these Flame Imps.
Yes.
Because you could actually just win off the back of these Flame Imps.
That's true. That is true too, yeah.
I think, it does depend on what's drawn, of course, but I wouldn't even mind it here because these Flame Imps are immortal at this point. As you said, lack of fan of knives more often than not means they can't really be touched.
Well, I mean, either way, he's looking for a play to fill out turn 3. Knife Juggler seems to do that quite nicely. And we will see whether he feels like the Fellhound is enough just to get the job done here. But MKR on his side just frantically scrambling to get this quest done, and in the meantime just taking an absolute beat down from the double Flame Imp opener.
Silverware Golem could change could make the Fellhound play work as well if that's the next draw.
That's an excellent point.
You just play another minion as well. 2 minions for 1, then they do 6 in the time Doomguard does 5. But yeah, there's a lot of options here. But as you said, at the end of the day, Doomguard is just 5 from hand that the rogue cannot interact with at all. So we'll see what goes on here. 2 Balefin still available. Patches not the draw MKR is looking for, but that's going to be number 3. Number 4 is available along with the prep into the quest proc. So
and charging Patches alongside it next turn as well.
Yeah.
He can go Tidehunter, Prep, Quest, and Patches on the following turn. It means if his next draw is a Pirate, that will be an incredibly frustrating Patches draw.
Very much so. And now is the time. Is it going to be Fellhound? Oh, it's going to be Tap. Okay.
Nice. Getting an extra 1-drop there is actually a really nice roll for him off the life tap, because now the extra knives, the extra power on board of being able to develop multiple minions. He's going to get a Flame Elemental in his hand that's probably just going to end up getting dumped to the Doomguard, but nonetheless, just having the extra 1-2 on the board makes a big difference.
I'm really interested about this Fellhound. You know the quest's happening next turn.
No, you don't.
More than likely you do, right?
He needs to have a prep to make the quest happen next turn.
Yeah, okay, you know the quest is being live next turn because the Balefin wouldn't have been live.
Yeah, the quest itself is being completed, yes.
Just wondering how much damage, because the problem now is if you've got any fear at all of the quest happening, then you could have just dropped Fellhound and then just continued pushing. Oh my god, that sniper's sick. But you could have continued pushing and not bothered about the minions. And as it is, it looks like MK has been left with 1 on the board.
Oh, there is a backstab.
Oh, okay.
That is enormous. Now that is a 5-5 taunt, a charging 5-5, and a backstab on the Flame Imp. That is so big. Mexico now are all repeating the same thing to themselves over and over again. Please no prep. Please no prep. Spoilers, there's a prep.
Yeah, and this changes absolutely everything. The 5-5 taunt on the board as well. You can see the value of a Balefin here. Just the bounces and the taunts holding off. You know, I'd like to see how much damage the Balefin taunts actually soaked up this game. I think it was, well, probably like, what, 4 damage?
Quite possibly, yeah. They've been efficiently dealt with every time, I think, by either the Voidwalker or the
Flame
Knife.
Imp killed one, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So it's like, what, 5?
It's
6
at least
damage?
5, yeah.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's actually nuts. Okay, so we're going to see where the 5-5 goes into here. You'd have to imagine the Flame Imp.
But you still have the dagger attack, right? So you don't necessarily need to kill the Flame Imp with the 5-5. You could kill it with your face if you're feeling ambitious, but I kind of like doing it the other way around myself.
Would you kill the juggler with your face and then kill the Flame Imp?
Not doing it. Wow, okay.
Ooh, why would he do it that way?
Because he's not scared of dying on 5 mana, and he has a pretty clean lethal setup if
But
there's
what's
a
the
life
difference
tap.
between 3 health and 2 health?
I mean, I don't know. Well, okay, so if there's Doomguard and he left it at 2 health, he could Doomguard and double trade these 2 1/1s into the remaining 2 health.
Okay, sure.
Whereas this way, he keeps an extra 5/3 on the board against Doomguard.
Oh, well. Here comes the decision. Now, what is this draw? Igneous Elemental, extremely slow. Even the Death Rowls, super slow.
Yeah.
He's going to have to hit trade here. Gonna full trade. I think you actually go face here. Power of Whelming isn't a card anymore. Abusive Sergeant is only +2.
You lose.
You need to kill him at some point.
Yeah.
If you go face and dagger, you can dagger up and go face with these 3 next turn and win. That just solves it for me. You have to just go for the lethal.
I agree. Like, what does killing the 1/1 even really
That's what
play
I mean.
around?
Like, Power Overwhelming into, Power Overwhelming Doomguard doesn't exist. Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Abusive Sergeant Doomguard would
Is
kill
the-
you
Yeah.
if you don't full trade.
But also, you had to not discard the Doomguard or the Abusive Sergeant the
yeah.
previous turn, which
Right.
is...
And most importantly, if you don't go face, you give your opponent an entire extra turn to draw those kind of runner outs that we're talking about right now. So face just seems an awful lot cleaner to me.
Now, is there anything that Eunice can even draw here?
Abusive Sergeant Doomguard.
Well, that's the abusive... No, Eunice.
Oh no, don't do it.
Please.
He's in a losing position anyway, so if he disconnects at this point...
Yeah, MKR has actually won. I believe there's no tap that even... Okay, tap into Argus keeps him alive.
Keeps him alive, but the game's over.
But yeah, I don't believe there's anything that can be drawn. Oh, there's a life tap, so Eunice is sentient at this point. But it's not going to be enough.
Well, he is still technically alive. He can still Councilman, Abusive Sergeant, trade in, and he is alive on board. So he does need to continue fighting, but this board state is just immediately dominated by the board state of MKR right now. That 1 card in hand is a Flame Elemental. MKR is well aware that it is a Flame Elemental, so he knows, for example, that he can't die to things like Runner, Abusive Doomguard. There wasn't enough mana to tap and put that together on the previous turn. And MKR is convinced that he's got this in the bag, and now Soulfire, tap,
Leroy up the top.
That is a Doomguard.
Oh, wow.
That is 1 off. Not enough mana to life tap into anything to play along with it. It would have had to be Soulfire, tap Soulfire, or a Leroy, which was unlikely to be in the deck. Look at that. So very
I wouldn't have even tapped. I wouldn't have even tapped.
You just don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Because that 1 mana extra.
Look at MKR's face.
What have you got? It would have been hilarious if like Leroy was just ripped out of nowhere. 1 Doomguard, 1 Leroy at Zoo. He's like, okay, I guess I lose. Absolutely crazy indeed. There is no out here. as even with killing off one of these minions is not enough. Who dares summon me? It's called the Losing Warlock. He puts him to 120 damage available. MKR victorious. Wearing a BlizzCon shirt, the one from this year as well.
Oh, very true.
Absolutely victorious there. Extremely happy. He is now 2-0, I believe. I think he did win his last game.
I'll take your word for it.
So, you know, he's going to be super happy. He knows he's on camera as well. He watched the VOD from last week. He has seen some global games. You do go on camera when you win a game, so make sure you do something like that. How victorious.
Yeah, great performance in the end. It really looked like that flaming beatdown was going to get there, but the planning of the turn 4 into turn 5 to allow him to, you know, net the quest with a significant amount of tempo, a 5-5 taunt in the way, and then also that decision that you were questioning, you know, what difference does this make to have a 5-3 or a 5-2? If he was 1-5-5 down for the whole remainder of that game, there may have just been time for Mexico to get there with that Soulfire and the Doomguard in the end.
It could have been Doomguard first draw into Soulfire, right?
Exactly.
The turn after. But we are going to be moving on to potentially the last game of this series. Blackfire Ice is going to be playing the Warrior, and Empanizado.
Sounds about right.
Empan, we going there? Empan is going to go for the Paladin, just because that's going to take us a while to say every single time. Yeah, going for the Paladin versus Warrior if it's the Murlocs versus the Taunt Warrior. How do you feel about this? But anyway, let's see a few key moments here. MKR was actually under a ton of pressure.
He was, yeah.
Coming in here. An absolute ton of pressure. Pretty sure he thought he'd lost, but suddenly prep Crystal Core.
And again, just look at the look on the face of the webcam there for Mexico. Just not even... Just trying to will that preparation out of the hand of MKR and Poland. The backstab draw that turn was crucial. That was the part he couldn't control. The part he could control, he didn't quite catch there, was where he chose to take the extra damage on his face to play around exactly Doomguard, and then one of his 5-2 would have been taken care of. His 5-3 could not have been, and that may have actually been the difference in the long run.
Well, you've got to think as well, Yinis actually put MKR to 1. Put him to 1.
Yeah.
Any 1 point of damage changes that game.
Yep.
And no backstab changes that game.
Yep.
Because there's main minions won't be able to trade into. But we can see Empanizado and Blackfire Ice now getting ready. Blackfire on his usual hat. He's got a little Kappa badge on the top. He's getting pumped up for it. He's ready. He knows it's all on him to take this series to Poland. And I know for a fact they were disappointed last week with their loss because they were it was such a close one. But they going to be pretty happy if Blackfire Ice can just finish this one out.
Of course, and I think Blackfire Ice has primarily been involved in these Blizzard events on our side of the table. He's been handling a lot of the Polish restreams of HCT events, for example, but now through the community vote and his position as one of the most popular streamers in Poland, he's found himself thrown into the hot seat, and it's going to be the Warrior, I believe he ended up with, right, coming up against Paladin.
Yeah, and oof. Okay, I know we both played a lot of these decks. How do you feel about this matchup? Because it's one you've probably ran into a lot.
It really depends on, your late game tech decisions. A Vine Cleaver in the deck just on its own can be game winning because of the amount of value that it generates. The pulls that you get from your Stonehill defenders as the Paladin can be absolutely massive. But it looks like from the Mexican side here, there's just a few more controlling options going on. The Dirty Rat and the Ivory Knight, both very defensive cards, not the kind of things you want against the Taunt Warrior, where you'd much rather be packing just more offensive powerhouse. Vine Cleaver in itself is 12 damage, plus 6 tokens that then get buffed up by your second and third Sunkeeper Tarim that you've got from your Stonehill defenders. Those are more of the tech choices that you want to be having in this matchup. And Dirty Rat, Ivory Knight, not so much.
No, Dirty Rat could be nice to, deny taunt.
Yes.
A lot of the time you do plan to have board control as Paladin, so you can trade into those taunts as well. And then Ivory Knight might be nice for equality, just some raw damage to try and blast through a taunt. Something along those lines, but maybe even a humility as well could help. But yeah, I agree in general. I think the list is pretty reasonable, but with Tyrion and Tarim available this early, you really want to start pressuring the Warrior right now with one of the Murlocs openings. I mean, basically, Empan needs to just speak to Kalento and ask how he did what he did earlier and just get that Murloc start, get the Mega Saw, and just pressure the Warrior so hard that the taunts like Stonehill Defender, although high value, do nothing to combat the board.
Yeah, it just doesn't really have that kind of pressure going on for him right now. Hand very, very slow. Rockpool Hunter in hand, but no Murloc to tempo out with. And since that Fiery War Axe has been shown from Blackfire, there's just no real benefit of playing anything into this and choosing not even to hero power because it has no upside for him right now, but it does have the downside of coming up against an Acolyte of Pain.
You already shouldn't, though. Play dirty, right?
Don't. Don't. I don't want to hear it, Raven.
I don't care what you want to hear, son. That's not what I want to say. Yeah, would have got some value out of the deck though, but I'm just gonna push this to wind you up. Going for the Ali Armorsmith just to even out the curve here. Can Stonehill defend the next turn into potentially a 4-drop to make that very, very smooth indeed. Only having the 6 slot to be able to fill in for a very smooth curve.
Look at how much of a dilemma this Fiery War Axe is causing. Just such a horrible card when you're any kind of board development deck to try and, you know, especially when it's shown preemptively like this, you know you have to chew through it eventually. So you're trying to, you know, decide, well, how do I make this happen where the Fiery War Axe gets an amount of value that I'm happy with? And Rockpool Hunter, War Leader in hand, those aren't minions that you're particularly happy with your opponent just War Axing down.
And something that's been very interesting as the meta's developed as well is that even with Warrior and Paladin being so dominant, we've not seen weapon removal, really.
No.
I've seen like the odd deck that runs Gluttonous Ooze. But that's like, I've seen that in like 1 to 2 lists in the past 2 weeks. Like, you're just not seeing anyone run weapon removal when, you know, pre-expansion, weapon removal, sometimes you ran 2, but not seeing any. So these War Axes, maybe the issue is there is only War Axe, so Furious doesn't really matter too much. But Paladin's normally double True Silver Tyrion. At least 1 Tyrion as well, sometimes 3.
I think, you know, pre-expansion there was probably twice to 3 times the combined amount of Pirate Warrior and Shaman than you now play against Paladin and Quest Warrior. You know, the meta is more diverse now, and yes, these are 2 of the strongest decks, but you're not queuing into them every other game. Yeah. There is, you know, other stuff going on around the ladder. A lot of people still experimenting with new stuff.
Okay, so the second Stonehill's gone for the Cornered Sentry there, and again, I think this is the strategy of, I actually just want a cheap taunt as opposed to anything more expensive to be able to squeeze in a turn. Stonehill Defender is an option now for Team Mexico, but is it good enough? Is this ever a War Leader Rock turn?
Should I?
War Leader, coin, rock pool, and buff it up to a 4/4. I mean, it still gets taken down by the War Axe. It just gets to take a 1/3 with it. It's still not fantastic. But as I said, at some point, this War Axe is getting value against you. You can't stop it happening unless you are playing weapon destruction in your deck and your plan is do nothing until that happens. But I think this coin Elise is probably just a more justifiable play overall.
Just put some value into the deck in the form of the Ungoro pack. But yeah, this means that on board there has to be double trade and War Axe. So that you imagine the War Axe is probably going to be skipped. But to be fair, do you want to play Ali Armorsmith into an Elise and not kill the Elise?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Like, you know, what does pushing 2 to face do really in this situation? Your goal as Quest Warrior is laid out for you. There's a little exclamation mark above your head that you can check if you've forgotten what your job is in this matchup. You are just supposed to play taunts. Pushing face damage right now doesn't really get you anywhere. Just control the board state, play your taunts, and eventually you're going to get there. So Ali Armorsmith and triple trade looks absolutely fine to me.
Yeah, Blackfire Ice and Team Poland did have the opportunity, or at least have the plan going forward of Cornered Sentry into Whirlwind, but suddenly turn 7 Cornered Sentry into Brawl is looking quite reasonable to me. If even required, but, you know, it's there.
No, I mean, I guess this is fine. I see no real issue with this. It's a little bit greedy just for the sake of pushing 2 damage. It's a little bit more than that because you do get to preserve those small minions that are around over the course of the game. If the Elise is forced to go into the Ali Armorsmith, it means that those 1/4 and 1/3, they're very, very useful to shut down just the small tokens on Paladin's board.
Yeah. Also as well, because the coin was used last turn, there's no chance of Equality Coin Consecrate to then punish with an extra 5 damage to face. Noble Sack, Redemption, Eye for an Eye. Kind of awkward. Redemption's way more difficult to get off than Kodo, and not as much value.
Yes.
Because you can't actually replay the minion with Battle Cries. It's mainly Tyrion you want to Redemption. So, you know, Eye for an Eye does not great versus Control Warrior either.
Eye for an Eye, I've actually had a little bit of success in this matchup with Eye for an Eye, but it only really works when you get ahead in the early game. So you get to pressure the life total, you get to lower them to a significant point, and then once they actually climb back into the game and actually get that Sulfuras off, in the late game,
You could just do 8.
you're in a position where you've got them below 8, and then, you know, there's something that they're almost willing to do against Paladin, because Paladin isn't exactly famous for burst damage,
Yeah.
so they allow themselves to drop low, then they forget that you've had that secret the entire time, and you just Eye for an Eye. You can never lose, because any time a die insect hits you in the face, it just ends the game.
Okay, so options for Blackfire Ice here. Bear in mind, if he wins this is going to be the match for Poland. Can just go for the second Ali Armorsmith. Can go for Dirty Rat and Cornered Sentry, but doesn't really do too much. There could be Dirty Rat, Cornered Sentry, Whirlwind. The Ali Armorsmith can trade into the 2/3. The weapon can clear up the Hydrologist and the Elise dice from the Whirlwind anyway, and it gets you 2 taunts. Skip the Rat. Save the Rat for Brawl next turn.
Yep. Seems like the most likely line to me, because, yeah, I mean, great, you're whirlwinding, which is fantastic, but if you are playing Dirty Rat and you pull a huge minion like, you know, Tyrion, Rag, Light Lord, etc., what's a whirlwind going to do in that case? So saving it until you're activating a Brawl at some point, which is almost never going to be next turn when you're this far ahead on board, but still, that combination works perfectly. If you need to Brawl, you need to Brawl, otherwise you're just happy developing along the Curator lines.
Yeah, interesting point there as well, where there was the trade the opposite way around in terms of Blackfire chose to take 1 extra damage to himself, then put his Armorsmith to 3. I wonder what the thought about that is, just because I can, and you keep the Ali Armorsmith higher, but what dies to 3 that doesn't die to 4 anyway?
That's a good question. Hammer of Wrath off Ivory Knight, I don't know, like weird worlds that you get into. I mean, when
It is minuscule, right?
Right.
I'm nitpicking here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of just default play, right? Like when you are learning to play Hearthstone, you learn as a general rule that you should take more damage to your hero and preserve more health on your minions. So. There's also just some 3-attack minions in the deck, right? Like if War Leader comes down, maybe you trade into War Leader, maybe you trade into Outdoor Peacekeeper.
Ooh, and that's the value of Getaway Kodo. Did pick it off the Ivory Knight, only going to heal for 1. Not that he needed to heal, but there were some other options there. But Getaway Kodo is just so powerful with cards like Tarim, Tyrion, Stonehill, for example. Getting to play them multiple times is actually insane.
What now?
Tempo Shield Slam, go.
I don't really see the need. This game isn't too much about your board state at the moment. I would just go with Curator here, because if the Ivory Knight does the likely thing of trading into the Ali Armorsmith here, then it's left at 2 health. This Curator draws you a Primordial Drake as your Dragon draw, and then that cleans up the 2 HP nicely. But this time, he's actually choosing to go for the double trade when he turned that option down in the early game with the Stonehill defenders.
Interesting, interesting. Maybe more likely for Equality Conk to clear off the board and preserve minions
That's
on the
fair.
Mexico side.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
we're getting quite late into the game at this point, and there's been 0 Consecrates or Equalities used so far. So, is a chance just to let's just make the board a little bit smaller. It's not like Blackfire is even close to running out of resources, especially because that Curator, as you said, and he's on now. Is it 6 out of 7?
I think it's 5.
5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Not too far away. Can easily proc those on the next turn or so. Doesn't even need to do right. He can just play 2 5-drops. Can just play the Drake. Doesn't even matter. There's no rush when he's this far ahead, I feel.
Grime Street Protector, the only Paladin card offered, not the greatest of outcomes from Stonehill Defender. Grime Street Protector is a great card, don't get me wrong. It's a fantastic card when you get it for free. But
Also, it's very good versus the Warrior Hero power.
Yes, it is. But the expectations of Stonehill Protector are just so high that
If it's not got a legendary border, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
So in 3 of the Paladin, well, 3 of the Paladin legendaries actually are just taunts at this point. So Stonehill becomes incredibly good. He's got to drop down some Murlocs now just to get some semblance of a board.
So Curator into the 1/4, Cornered Sentry into the Vilefin, Stonehill into the War Leader, Primordial Drake.
Sure.
That seems relatively efficient to me.
And the more you can do trades like this and get this kind of value, the more powerful Brawl becomes because you can emergency Brawl late game. Oh, or not. Okay. It's going to be 6 for the quest. Blackfire Ice is can get the quest live next turn easily, and also with the addition of Ali Armorsmith can actually... Oh, sorry, that won't work. But can actually Dirty Rat, play the weapon, and do the hero power next turn.
You just want a Dirty Rat every turn, don't you?
I mean, no, that's actually a pretty logical thing.
It's fairly solid, yeah.
You already have a board, you have a weapons traded to one of the minions that comes out, all the hero power, all the minions you've already got.
Right. It still feels a little bit of an unnecessary risk. Like, okay, if your opponent plays Tyrion this turn, that play's probably reasonable. But even in that play on the following turn, like Dirty Rat coming down and just pulling a huge minion, it still just feels like a risk you don't necessarily need to take in this spot.
With Brawl. And there's enough armor for Shield Slam as well.
It's fair.
Just gives you options of getting those 8 damage going. Because I feel like if Paladin gets the time, even post Warrior Quest being completed, they can create enough stuff to almost negate the hero power.
No, that's absolutely fair.
If you can get going, you need to get going.
It is for sure one of the most awkward classes to deal with, if you can call anything awkward when you deal 8 damage for 2 mana every turn. But yeah, the fact they can generate 1/1s on the board, they have some small early game things that they can drop
potential
down.
for Light Lord, which negates 1 hero power to face to a certain extent. Yeah. Oh, but here comes Tyrion, though. I mean, now there's just an easy, just go in with the Acolyte and Shield Slam it.
He can even, he can
Drake first.
Yeah, he can Drake to finish the quest and then Shield Slam the Tyrion and trade the remainder of the Acolyte into the 1/1 to finish that off as well.
Yeah.
Get double draws off the Acolyte immediately, finish the quest, set himself up for next turn while clearing the Tyrion off the board and gaining tempo at the same time.
Good turn.
Yeah, there are turns, some turns where the greatest compliment that I can give to a deck doing something powerful is that almost feels as good as a good patron turn.
Yeah, that was clean, very, very nice indeed. So much value as well. And again, at this point, Blackfire is probably not even too bothered to see an equality clear of some kind. It's like, yeah, you spend your mana.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get you. As well, the Armorsmith going to come down here. Ali Armorsmith, sorry. It's going to mean that it kind of just probably soaks a Ashbringer hit, which means that, yeah, you negate the damage, you actually gain additional armor, and you're not just straight up 15 to the face.
Should I?
Tareem for Mexico is one of the few answers he's going to have when he's this far behind on board, but when you're scrambling for answers just to the existing board state against Quest Warrior, that's when you know you're in trouble. You're supposed to be ahead. You're supposed to be pushing through these inefficient taunt minions with your superior minions, but that exactly. That's what I was getting to in the end is that War Axe in the early game just stopped any kind of board development from Empan, whatever we're ending up calling him. Empan, or just Emp, like Emp.
Okay. Imp, new name.
Empanizado.
Yep. This is a play of pure desperation at this point. He's doing this. This means the Kodo. Oh, we didn't. Was it Redemption? Was it Redemption he's equipped?
Yes, I believe.
So this means that the Abomination. This is a cool, cute thing you can do with Redemption with a Death Rattle like this. So it's forced to kill, deal 2 damage. Then the Abomination will be redeemed, come back onto the board, and deal another 2 to clear the board. But it deals 4 damage to Emp's face as well, and suddenly that's 2 rag shots away from ending the game. Okay, so now we can get around this by killing Tareem.
Yes, that's basically what he was looking for there, is there are some high-value taunt minions that he could be trading into, and that, again, this is given that Quest Warrior effect, where when all minions have taunt, none of them do. Now he can get some value out of these minions that were going to die anyway by just trading through the Tareem. He's actually going to execute it here. And now pushing through 11 damage, 8 more plus the hero power. The board will be clear. This is actually just lethal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got him. Very, very nice play there. Just navigating that, understanding exactly what could have happened if the outcome there.
And a cheer just went up from the production office as Poland round out the series.
Good job, Poland. You got one.
Unsuccessful on week 1, very successful on week 2. We can only hope that the United Kingdom follow suit when they come up for their second game. But for now, The story is all about Poland. They got themselves back on the board, and they are now sitting at a 1-1 record and right back in contention in the middle of the pack. There are people dancing in the halls here at Katowice Studios as celebrating Poland's win, but they are right back in now contention in their group.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difference as well from what I recall of the first series Poland played last week. Felt way more steady. I feel like they've probably got together and said, right, you know, let's step this up one more notch. Let's get more organized. Let's sort the communication out. There was not really any big rope turns. We saw some really on-point navigation of these turns, actually. Were really... This is nice.
This play was actually really cute, because all they wanted to do, like, they didn't know what the secret was, so they recognized the situation and they said, okay, if I kill that and it's redemption, then I don't have lethal. If I pull any other minion out with Dirty Rat and I kill that first and that gets redeemed, then I have lethal through this abomination. So great recognition of the play. Execute goes through, the weapon takes care of the A-bomb, and the Die Insect hero power sends our studio, and I'm sure everyone in the fine nation of Poland, into pure jubilation as they square up their record 1 series 2-1.
Yeah, really nice play. Commiserations to Mexico, but it is Mexico's first match as well. So although it's Poland's second, only Mexico's first, so they are just 0-1 so far in the tournament. Got plenty more games to come. We can see how that turned out. Epsilon with the crazy hunter deck getting the win there over Tutek, but I kill you MK on Blackfire, knocking the next 3 games out for Poland. Got to be feeling fantastic because, again, I know for a fact those guys were not happy with last week's result and they really wanted to get this win on the board. And even though we have 10 weeks of play, it is not 10 games per team. So as we move on to like match 2 for a lot of these teams, it does become important. If you lost your first one, you kind of need to start pushing some wins in because very quickly you'll find yourself at the bottom. But we can see now, Poland only to a 3-4 game record, but most importantly a 1-1 match record now, knocking on a 3rd place door and just going to be behind Turkey and Taiwan. But depends on Turkey and Taiwan's performance in their next match. If they lose as well, suddenly this group is just brawling for 1st place.
Yeah, Singapore still waiting to enter the fray as well, whereas Vietnam and Mexico just chilling at the bottom of the group for now, but only 1 game played each for them, so still plenty of time to come back. But again, that was an important win for Poland. 0-2 is a world of pain for sure, with only 3 more games available for you to play in the group round robin stage. So very important for Poland not to go 0-2. They did not, and they increased the happiness level of our studio exponentially with that win.
Yeah, and we've got what is potentially to be called the headlining match coming up to finish off day 2 here. It is going to be Netherlands versus USA. Right after this, don't go anywhere.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.